The future of AAA studios is looking bleak. Blizzard and Bethesda have followed the path of their predecessors in the industry and have decided that focusing on making quality, genre-defining blockbuster games that put the quality first and foremost and carry themselves to success with that is too much effort and not enough profit. They make money, but not all the money, and so now they're just going to make quick, low quality, easy to produce cash grabs that will make them all the money. The first of these are Diablo Immortal and Fallout 76, and they are just the harbingers of the apocalypse for these companies, at least for their dominance in the PC gaming scene anyway. Let me first explain why I think these games are, or are going to be, quick, low quality, easy to produce cash grabs. Let's start with Fallout 76. Good fucking god. This was Bethesda's attempt to cash in on the survival genre, and it's just so blatantly clear it's a quick cash grab because there are so many fundamental things they fucked up. It shows they put no effort whatsoever into it. First, they have no understanding of what makes a survival game fun, the social elements, which PvP is a core part of. Arguably, the greatest survival games out at the moment are Rust and Ark, and the core thing that makes these games fun is the PvP and the dynamics between groups of players this creates. 1 minute you're running back from a monument full of loot, then some dude comes up and downs you, calls you a faggot, and runs over for your shit. Then you call in some boys to hunt him down to get your shit back, and suddenly you're in an all-out war between clans. This is where the fun and, most importantly, longevity of survival games comes from. Nobody is going to play 10,000 hours of Rust because they are endlessly entertained by the gathering and building mechanics. They play it because the social dynamics are amazing, which, as I just explained, PvP is a core part of. Fallout 76 doesn't have that core part. The PvP in this game is a joke. It is consensual PvP. If you don't fight back, you don't die. There's no risk to PvP, no reward for PvP, no reason to PvP. With that, you just have PvE. Sure, you can do that with your friends and random people you meet and maybe have a little fun that way, but the PvE in survival games is generally garbage. Just a backdrop to supplement the PvP, and Fallout 76 PvE is no outlier here. Unlike other Fallout games, they decided to gimp the main thing that makes Fallout games good, the NPC dialogues. They just went with no NPCs whatsoever, because they could save development costs this way. Oh, I know it's because the players are the first survivors out of the vault into the wasteland. That sure as hell is a good excuse anyway, but they've already shown that they don't give a shit about lore by butchering it in other parts like the Brotherhood of Steel shit, so it really is just that, a good excuse. Also, there could have been NPCs, even with going with this theme. There are many backstories in the holotapes about those that survived the initial Fallout, ghosts, schools, robots, etc. There's even a few spare NPC robots in the game. Just have more of these. Have these people in the actual game rather than having it have happened years ago. That would have been so much more interesting to live these stories themselves rather than just hear them on a holotape. All this, and they have put no thought into the actual multiplayer component as well. The fact that people could bug a speed hack into the game from simply changing the FPS was absolutely absurd. But hey, is it surprising that a company that has only ever done single player games and is suddenly rushing to capitalize on a multiplayer game because it can ram it full of microtransactions because that's somehow normalized for multiplayer games, has no idea how to develop a multiplayer game? No, but it doesn't make it any less garbage. And come on, if you still don't think Bethesda is literally trolling with this game, look at the physical copy. It's not that they didn't include a disc. They included a fucking cardboard one, a cardboard disc. They have got to be taking the piss. They just know they can do anything. They could have literally got Ron fucking Howard to take a shit in each physical copy they shipped and people would have still bought it. Okay, I spent way too long on Fallout 76. Diablo Immortal, well, it's a mobile game, developed in tandem with NetEase, who already has made Diablo mobile clones, making this a clone of a clone. And as a mobile game, what else could it be but something designed entirely around psychologically manipulating you into swiping your card shekel by shekel until you've spent thousands on it. It will just be a shekel collector wearing Diablo's skin. Disgusting. That and Blizzard themselves said they're developing many Diablo games at the same time, which is not a good thing, Blizzard. It just shows that they are spreading themselves thin and they've decided to just start shitting games out. They cannot reproduce the same quality of their previous genre-defining titles when they are working on so many games at once. It's just obvious that they've made the business decision to go with quantity over quality, and that is just sad. So yeah, Bethesda and Blizzard have decided to jump trains and go for the cash grabs. And yeah, these companies are getting a lot of shit from this. They're getting torn to pieces. But the sad thing is, this will all die off in a few weeks or months' time. The backlash will disappear, and for Bethesda, the suckers that will buy anything Bethesda releases will still buy its garbage and waste money on its microtransactions. And for Blizzard, when it finally releases Diablo Immortal, the mobile market will eat it up and spend exorbitant amounts of money on shitty time-gating mechanics or gacha bullshit, and they will both make all the money and still profit off this. Because despite any amount of backlash, there will still be retards who buy this shit, and those retards spend ridiculous amounts of money on microtransactions. Just look at EA's breakdown of revenue. Their earnings from live services more than double their game sales revenue, and their mobile scene, which I didn't even realize they had, is, despite obviously not being well known if I didn't know about it, already almost equal to their game sales. I call it the retard exploitation monetization strategy, and it is fucking broken. It's also really sad because it makes these companies make themselves no longer about making good games or the best games that they can make, or even the games that the devs themselves would want to play. The founding developers that held these as their core principles are either long gone by now or no longer hold the power. It is now big business experts and investors that hold that power, and what they want is one thing: profit. And if there is a retard that can be exploited for that, they are going to do exactly that. There's no room for passion in these kinds of massive studios anymore. It's just numbers. That's all they care about. If they can make more money from shitty cash grabs and implementing psychologically manipulative monetary practices like microtransactions to exploit all the retards out there, then that is the natural thing to do. Because again, it's just about money now. The people making the decisions are not the ones making the games. So whether whoever is making the game is passionate or not is redundant. It doesn't matter. It doesn't come into account. The orders just come from the top brass, and the PNs do what they are told. And those orders are to make more money. And not even about making handsome profits as they've been doing for years. It's about making all the profits. This is why the future of AAA studios is bleak, not just for Bethesda and Blizzard and their predecessors, but for all the upcoming ones now too. It is inevitable, because as they grow, the truly passionate people get less power, and those only thinking about profits get that power. And once they're the ones controlling the decisions, this is the natural conclusion. It is just cancer, so make sure you support indie devs that do still want to make good games that they themselves would play, that are still headed by passionate developers that truly do care. These are the kind of studios now that were like the AAA studios before they got so big their founders no longer ran them. They will be the ones bringing us truly good games for the next decade or so, until they too, I guess, eventually follow the same route and get so big they no longer own themselves and get profiteers making the decisions for them. It's just a pattern that's going to happen, and as shit as this feels to concede to, there's not a whole lot we can do about it. The average PC gaming scene are not the ones these AAA studios are looking to cater to anymore, so even if we do protest, it doesn't matter all that much to them. We can only now just try and change our perspectives and look to the studios that do want to cater to us and support them in their passion and enjoy the product of that. Now, this is definitely not to say we shouldn't bother pushing back against these greedy decisions and creating a shitstorm of backlash. It definitely is worthwhile, because it makes these studios fully realize that if they do this, they will lose their current audience, which will also lose them stocks and profits in the short term, and hopefully that will discourage them, or at least delay them or other prospective studios that are getting tempted by the greener grass on the microtransaction market side. If we make it clear their current audience won't stand for it, then it becomes more of a risk to make this transition. It becomes an all or nothing kind of thing where they could both lose their current audience and not make it in their new endeavors. And many studios won't want to do that, and it also shows up and coming devs what we don't want, so that if they do want to get anywhere in the PC gaming scene, they won't be tempted to follow in the footsteps of the AAA studios. And also, on a more positive note, to show them that there is a huge desire and need for good games that don't succumb to these exploitative practices just for a bit of extra profits. So that is the hole in the market that is open and waiting for them to fill.